Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I am on Zoom right now with Derry Shillitto. Hey, Derry.
Hey Jeff, how you doing?
I'm good. And you want to tell people where in the world you're sitting right now?
I am in Nottingham in the UK.
Not
If
right.
you might not know it, you might know it for Robin Hood. That's the only thing that
Everyone has heard of Nottingham. Of course, Americans pronounce that hard G, but I will do my best not to if I can help it.
That's okay. Yeah, if I say it the wrong way, I get
Yeah.
torn to shreds.
But you're in the UK, I'm in Los Angeles, so we're talking on Zoom, and you are on the Discover Indie Film podcast to talk about your feature film, The Correction Unit, that you wrote and directed, and that I believe is recently released.
Yeah, I wrote directed it. It's currently on TVOD in the US and the UK, and then it's going to Prime Video subscription. Prime Video next week. Well, that will be on the 24th of December. So I don't know when this podcast is going out, but
Yeah, in fact, I could answer that, but I have to peek at something, and then I can say that oh, this is very bad time filler, but I believe I believe we've got you slated. Uh, well, it'll be the first week of January.
that's good. Then it will be on Prime in the US and UK, so everyone that has a Prime subscription can watch it then.
Right, so it'll be included with Prime too.
Yeah, included with Prime. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
those you'll get some good numbers. I gotta admit, of all whenever I talk to people, it's so hard to get people to pay that rental on Prime. But once it's included with Prime, I've known people that have had a really nice response.
yeah, I hope so. I think because we've got Bella Ramsey in the film, that helps, and I think there's been a good response so far with the TVOD or TVOD. So
Excellent, yeah.
hopefully we'll see where it goes. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, congratulations on it. And as I warned you, I always start actually with a personal story before we get to your feature. And I looked at you on IMDb, so I know you had some shorts and stuff before that. But but when did you get the creative spark? What drew you to filmmaking?
Sure, yeah. I've always, as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. That's a Goodfellas quote, but just switched it from a mobster to filmmaker. I didn't even mean to do that. And I think it was probably when I saw the Truman Show. Actually, I saw the Truman Show when I was around 12 years old, and when it came out, and there was something about it that really clicked with me. I think it was because we saw this behind the scenes of how you know TV and film works, and also this whole sort of narcissistic idea that the whole world revolves around this one guy. For a little bit, I thought I was, like everyone was filming me. I don't feel that way now, thank God. But I was just really intrigued to do stuff like make films, and then I just kept doing it really since then.
That's a really interesting insight because I always think of the Truman Show. Obviously, comes up a lot, right? Because it's a pretty pivotal film in our lives, and it obviously has a meta angle about television production. Even though it seems a lot about reality TV, it really is actually a bit of a behind the. It's very much a behind the scenes
Yeah, it is,
experience.
and that's it. And I think there was something about it that made me really excited. And I think it's Ed Harris's character being able to construct this world. Like at some points they turn the wave machine up, don't they, to make the
Yeah,
shit crash. And it's like he is the director, isn't he, in the moon?
it actually makes directing look both good and bad. But yeah, it is very much I mean, look, a term we throw around all the time when we talk about film and indie films is world building. And that truly shows you that a film director really is building an entire universe on that screen.
Yeah, he is, and he chucks everything at the main character, makes his life hell to a point where he has to do everything he can to leave. And for some reason, even though that's it's quite a mean thing to do, there was something intriguing about it. And I think the film, looking back on it now, is even more relevant and ahead of its time than it was in 2000 when it came out. I think it's a really special film.
It is, and it also. Well, we should move on from Truman Show, but I have to add that it's also actually a very interesting look at parenthood, right? And parenting, because
Yeah,
it's your job as a parent. You know, like Ed Harris is also a bit of a parent to Truman. He's even, isn't there a moment when Truman escapes that you see Ed Harris's face and he's actually almost happy for him?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is
Ed, he's so good in that film, Ed Harris, isn't
eyes.
he?
He truly is great. Well, he's acting. All right, so that was inspiring. Before that, were you like, did you write short stories or anything? Were you like a creative kid?
I think I struggled with the English language a little bit. I could verbally tell stories. I couldn't write them down, so I'd try and always make my mates laugh. And once I plucked up the courage to be um, myself, I was a nervous kid for a while, and then I realized that I can be quite funny. So got some dorky friends, and we used to make films. At the age of 15, we were shooting stuff on like a DV camera, and we were just making these sketches, and it was great. I initially thought I was going to be an actor, but realized I haven't got the chops to do that, so I'll direct instead, and that's always been the plan.
And not to push an answer on you, but I'm pushing an answer on you. No, also sometimes when you're playing around with your friends with a camera, you find, you know what? It just comes out better if I'm behind the camera than in front of it too, right? Like, were you
Absolutely,
drawn to that too? Like you're like, we're actually getting better results if I'm. Someone's got to take that camera and actually do the right thing with it.
100%. And I think with a lot of directors, they have like an idea for something, and like you say, if they can see that it can be done without their input in front, then they'll just happily rest behind. I realized that my friends who I made the films with were they got the timing of the comedy, they knew everything. I didn't need to try and take too much control of it. I could just get the shots down, and to think also the energy of the movement of the camera is really important for comedy, right? So someone has to have that knowledge so they can make the punchlines land through the movement of the camera as well as the performances. It's also the movement, and yeah, so I realize I'm much better at that. There's a few times where I'm trying to deliver comedy lines and they come off. I've got a very monotone voice, right? So there's not much inflection in my voice, and I think an actor has to have a range in their voice naturally. And yeah, so I realized that early on.
That makes sense. I hear you. Although, Lord knows every once in a while an actor comes along who's monotone, and you just say to yourself, "How do they do it? How do they?" But anyhow, so you were making those fun videos and starting with some comedy and sketch stuff, and that was obviously in school. Did you decide to what was your next step?
Yeah, so we made these videos, put them online, got a bit of a following on YouTube, not a big one at all, but in our town it was big enough. We got a reaction, and then I went to university, like a not a great university, like a real middling one, and I studied media technology there. Realized that there was a load of people that I liked working with there, but I didn't really like the education side of it. And instead, I just made more friends and made more films with those guys. So met a new group of people that could make films that were a bit more premium, a bit more considered than they were when I was at school. And then I still work with those people I met at university. That was 15 years ago, and I'm still with them on
Yeah,
projects
yeah.
now.
You found your tribe, right? You found like-minded people who, besides when you were younger, you were having fun with it, and then you met people who were taking it a little more seriously.
That's exactly it. And you could actually get equipment as well, like equipment with lights. You know, when you start using lights for the first time and you realize, oh, that's what it's meant to look like. It's not meant to just look like some dour sort of dark image. You can actually, produce something quite nice.
Right,
And
the lights, and then when the sound gets better, you realize, oh wow, the sound was holding us back all the time.
yeah, that's it. And because if you're recording on a Carl Zeiss camcorder on a DV tape, it does have sound built in. obviously all you hear is like the tape sound because you got the manual tape. So yeah, as soon as we realized that you can record on a Zoom mic, separate the audio from the video, um, then it elevated the projects to another level, and
Yeah, and
that was an amazing.
thankfully, you're living in the era where the editing software is so much more accessible to,
Yeah,
right, you reunite picture and sound and all that and really experiment with it.
yeah. We had to use capture tapes initially. I don't know if you ever use those. You know, when you put your tape in and you record it all manually, so the DV tape would play through for an hour, and then it would record that into a digital form of the tape, and that was obviously far better than film, more convenient than film. But now it's just as easy as slotting a card in, isn't it? It's just you've immediately got your image. I have worked with film a few times and I love it aesthetically. I think it's great. I don't like DV. I'm glad DV's finished. We don't need DV tape coming back. That's
No,
that's not good.
yeah, it's funny. It is funny because every once in a while at one of the film festivals will get something that either has a VHS look and sometimes they like dragged out an old VHS camera that still works just for the
Yeah,
aesthetic. But
yeah.
obviously you can
It
just
can
do
work.
that.
It can work in horror and stuff. I think that aesthetic does work in horror. I think it does deliberately need to look cheap and grungy, doesn't it?
It definitely doesn't look it is shocking how low our visual standards were just 20 years ago,
I know.
right before HD television hit.
Yeah.
I can't believe I never hated the image back then, but I didn't know better.
Yeah, that's it. And I think when you watch films like 28 Days Later, now it works. I mean, it looks kind of terrible in terms of the color, but it works for the image really well, and it's actually shot really well. And also, the same guy who shot 28 Days Later, he shot Festen as well, that Danish film, one of the Dogma films,
Hmm.
and that was on TV tape, and it did work for the aesthetic. But I am glad that we're not forced to use DV tape now. It's like an
Yeah.
option rather than a
Yeah,
mandatory thing.
so you meet those people at university basically and move on. Did were you was it the kind of program and you got your hands on equipment? Were you making shorts at that point? And were you focused on writing as well as or were you just doing everything? Like was it one of those things where everyone takes turns doing every role, finding out what fits you?
Yeah, it was good because I was always drawn to writing and directing, so I wasn't so much on the technical side of things. So what was good is I could explore that solely and help other people if they need, but I rarely ever use any technology actually. What we did have was in our group, we would have a final major project that we all had to do. We all had to produce a final major project. And some people would like sound, some people would like video, some people would like makeup and stuff like that. So we would get the ones that could do the role, and then we we'd be able to each do our role basically. So that was really good. And we produced some terrible shorts that I wouldn't show anyone. But you're there to learn, aren't you? And you're meant to make terrible, pretentious crap because then you can learn what not to do. And so we did a lot of that. We did a lot of what not to do, and then hopefully buried those films forever.
Everybody, yeah, it is funny. I bet they're not as bad as you think, but I totally get it. Yeah, it is funny. Every once in a while I make fun of I'll be talking to a filmmaker and I'll say, you know, those films where it's the guy trying to pick up the phone to ask someone out on a date and he can't work
Yeah,
up the courage, and everyone looks me in the eyes and goes, I made that film when I was younger."
everyone did. There's no way of avoiding, especially men as well. Especially men. Like I think,
Especially, man, we all thought that was such a pivotal moment we needed to share with the
yeah,
world. And it turns out it's probably the least interesting story you can tell because
yeah, yeah, definitely. And then there's the flip side of that. Like when I saw Before Sunrise for the first time, I thought I was some sort of poetic, romantic who's making short films about how to speak to women and all this stuff. And honestly, it's when you watch it, I've read some of the scripts I wrote back then, and it is like, wow, this is the worst thing I've ever read in my life. But yeah, you learn and move on.
Right. So, but exactly, and that's the best way to look at it, right? Is I don't even remember who said this, but it's I actually I think I'm about to quote a tennis player. I think Carlos Alcaraz basically said, "I either win, as in it either turns out well, or I learn." But you don't
Yeah,
lose. You don't. It never turn. Even when it turns out badly, if you learn from it, it's a benefit.
yeah, absolutely. And look at him, like he's 23 and already, uh, how many majors has he won already? I don't even know. It's like that kind of mentality you do need to have, don't you? Otherwise, you just give up.
Yeah, you certainly can't live in fear of failure and succeed because it just holds you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. University. When you finish university, uh, there probably was a film you were proud of from that era, but you don't have to name it if you don't want to.
There was a few that I was proud of my friends for doing, which I contributed to. There was nothing I did myself, which I would look back now. But what I am happy about is I got over this like pretentious aspect that I had, and like trying to overly write dialogue, trying to make things sound like Tarantino or like
Right.
or even more pretentious stuff like Jean-Pierre Melville shooting a film like The Samurai or something and just not really understanding tone and context. So I think as soon as you understand tone and context, you become like a much better filmmaker.
Right. And it sounds like what you did was you found your voice.
Yeah, I found an element of it and developed it. I'm still finding it though. I think with the correction unit, there's things that I look back now, and I think, oh yeah, I could have done that differently. But also, there's a lot of it I'm very proud of as well. I think I'm trying to develop that voice with every project I do, and I don't think anyone really gets a voice. I mean, now we're seeing like filmmakers in their 70s do things that are completely different to the rest of their film catalog, and so the voice keeps developing, doesn't it, and keeps changing.
It does. And I think everyone is honest, who's honest about it, says, when I first started, I was just copying my favorite films. I was just remaking stuff that I'd seen when I was younger. And through that, you do develop your own voice and you do start to stretch your legs. But yeah, there's nothing wrong. Look, I've every once in a while we get a Tarantino I wanted to say ripoff, but I should call it tribute.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's actually good enough to put in a festival, but most of
Sure.
them aren't. But every once in a while, a young person just like they make something that you clearly see what their inspiration is, but they do it well enough to share.
Absolutely, and that's what he is anyway, isn't he? He's a filmmaker. Tarantino is a filmmaker who has derived pretty much everything from a catalog of films that he's watched. Some that are so unknown that he could copy them directly, and no one will ever find out.
That's true, especially because he was so good at watching films from outside the English speaking world, right? So,
Yeah.
so he would just, but to his credit, he would always, unlike some people, he always credits those
Yes.
inspirations.
Yeah, definitely. And like he pays respect to the filmmakers, no doubt.
No doubt. All right, so what comes in between university and the correction unit?
Working as a chef for 7 years, yeah, that was a like as you know, as we all know, that you never get film work unless you're very fortunate to come out of like a film college or like maybe you have rich parents or maybe not maybe your parents are connected to a company or something like that. But I didn't have that, so I moved to Nottingham and I worked as a chef, and it took me 7 years whilst making music videos on the weekends or on my days off and funding them myself, um, and then actually getting fired from the restaurant because I was giving out discounts. And that was then when I had to take a risk and go fully freelance filmmaker. And that was 8 years ago now, and I've been freelance since. So it did really take someone kicking me uh, off out of the job to actually do something. So yeah, I'm happy that happened.
And um and the music videos was that you must be into music. So like would you actually approach bands who you saw and say, "Hey, I'd like to make a video on that song."
Yeah, there's a bunch of local artists in Nottingham, grime artists, which is like UK rap, and there's a guy called Jar Digger in particular, and he is very well known in the city, but he's not very well known commercially elsewhere. But all of the big UK grime artists really respect him, and they think he's one of the best working. So I became friends with him. I shot about 5 or 6 videos for him. Some had a bigger budget than others. Some were very small budget, and he is now getting more popular. And I'm very happy that he is because he's a serious talent. And there was a few other artists. There was a couple other Nottingham artists like Juggernaut and a few others who have just produced good music and had a great visual sense in the lyrics that I could make a video to.
I admit I'm quite old. So I was around when I was I was in school when MTV first hit, and I love the format of I love the art of music videos. I honestly bemoan the fact that music videos, I mean, I realized they were always ads for the song, but there was an era where they were really as good as they were cinema.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, there's that one. I don't know if you know it. That one that Roman Gavros directed in Paris by Justice. Have you seen that video, Justice? It's,
I haven't seen it. You know, I'm very out of touch, but every once in a while, heck, even I can't name the direct well, but like every once in a while, like something really like a big artist will hire a creative director to make a really artistic music video, and I just sit there and watch it over and over when I get exposed to it because, but I love that because I think music video is actually I think some of my favorite directors got started in music videos.
yeah, because you have freedom to do whatever you want. You don't need to worry about sound. You can literally be as creative as you like. Like you can do David Lynch kind of abstract imagery, and all you have to do is edit it to the beat of the track. Like it doesn't even need to be related to the lyrics. You know what I mean? Like I know David Fincher did like some videos for Madonna, right?
Yeah,
Back in
Fincher did, and yeah, quite a few, quite a few. It never surprises me when and interestingly, I think they tend to be the more visual directors too.
yeah, of course. Like Spike Jones is another one, isn't it? Like Spike Jones done loads. Yeah,
Spike
I think
Jones, Francis Lawrence, who did you know, Constantine and oh, I guess Hunger Games.
yeah, underrated director he is. I think.
You know, amusingly, I went to high school with him.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, no, I think every film he does, even I like the Hunger Games films, but even like didn't he do I Am Legend as well? I quite like I
Yeah,
Am
he
Legend.
did. He did. I, I'm I sometimes joke with people that's why I never made it too big because you can only have one really successful person per high school and at mine it was Francis Lawrence and he's done wonderfully and I believe he did like Britney Spears videos and things.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, that makes
Quite big
sense.
stuff.
Yeah, you get there can only be one. It's like Highlander. Like in your high school,
Yeah.
there can only be one. But yeah, no, that's cool that you went to school with him. But he's got a new film coming out soon, right? I think he's got. I can't remember what it is, but it looks quite interesting.
You know, I just pleased that whenever I see something with his name on it, I'm like, you know, that's really fucking good. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, he
you know,
smashed it. I think.
he doesn't, yeah, he, like you said, he doesn't get the credit of a Fincher or, you know, a Tarantino, but he's got a style and a vision and his stuff is, always does well with audiences, which should not be discounted.
Yeah, definitely not. He knows how to shoot like thrilling action, and there's definitely bits in Hunger Games which stand out against any sort of franchise, I would say. I particularly like I Am Legend, and even Constantine has some bits in it which are
I
really good.
particularly like Constantine. It's funny. I did not know it was his film for years
Wow.
after seeing it. I finally put it together, like seeing it again on video. But we don't have to talk about him. So anyway, that's a funny coincidence.
Yeah.
And and you certainly are someone who cares about cinema that you because actually I pulled out a name that's not a household name and you knew him and his work. So
Yeah, I'm a bit of a geek for that. I used to spend like hours on IMDb looking at all the directors' names, their back catalogs, and I hold that information in my head quite easily because I want to find out who made these things.
and isn't that I always find that's a bit of a distinguishing characteristic for filmmakers is somewhere along the line, right? Because when you're a younger person, you're like, I'm a Jim Carrey fan and I'll go see all the Jim Carrey films. And then you have that maybe the Truman Show realization that the director matters, and you realize, no, I should follow the director's career, not the actor, because the
Yeah,
director, that's the person who's telling me the story. That's who I want to follow. The actor could be in a great film, you know, less consistency, I suppose. But
definitely. I think Peter Weir directed the Truman Show, didn't he? And I certainly looked into his other stuff. Yeah, I think that's when I realized I wanted to be behind the camera as well because I love Jim Carrey and I love performers like Eddie Murphy and all of these people. But I realized that it was about the block in and it was about the camera movements and the things that were being discussed behind closed doors that really interested me. And yeah, so that's when I realized I didn't want to be in front, but I wanted to be behind the camera.
right. All right, so back to you. So the chef career ends in a good way for you long term. And was the correction unit the first thing you did after that? You said you.
No, it wasn't. So for 8 years, I've been freelance. I was working. I did some editing work for like the local video production company, like corporate stuff, adverts, small fry stuff, nothing too big, and then would gradually like start getting day rates of like £150 here, £250 there, and save that. Do more music videos, make a couple of short films until eventually I got funded by the BFI, which is the British Film Institute. So it's the same as the AFI, but just the British version. And they do a short film fund where they fund films up to £15,000. You have to go through an application, and it's funded from national lottery funding. And so I produced a short film that the BFI funded. I didn't direct that one, but it was directed by a woman called Georgie Levers, and it was really good. And then after that, that elevated me because now people saw that I was, in charge of a BFI production. People started to take me more seriously as a producer, and since then, I've gradually got another BFI fund and done a few short films with various budgets between 10 and 30 grand. And then the correction unit has come after a series of maybe 7 short films.
And that BFI grant, I assume it's like an application where you submit the script and the plan and it's probably quite competitive, I imagine.
It really is, yeah. So you have to have a really good script which meets their output requirements. Like the BFI are very particular about presenting stories which are inclusive and are new, refreshing, and have something to say about today's society. And they want to hear from, unheard people, like whether that's like female-led stories, stories from different cultures, like ethnicities, classes. In the UK, obviously, the working class and middle class and upper class is very, really clear to see. And we have a bit of an issue with representation on like the grand scheme of things. Like pretty much every British actor is quite coming from wealth. I think like 95% of actors in Britain are like from a wealthy background. So the BFA are trying to balance that out. So we applied with the story, it got selected in our region, which is the Midlands. I think they fund about 6 films per term, and they get about, sometimes they get like 500, 1,000 applications each term. So it is competitive. So you have to have a really good project.
But it's so wonderful that lottery funds are used to support the arts at a certain level. You can imagine when I talk to the majority of the people I talk to are American, and whenever I mention, yeah, I talk to these Europeans and people in the UK and Europe do manage to get some federal support, some government support for the arts, and the Americans just lower their heads in sadness and go, "Oh,
Yeah,
it just wouldn't
it's
happen here." But that's really great, yeah, because you bring up a good point that some other filmmakers we had filmmakers at our festival from Manchester
yeah.
many years ago. And when I would name someone that I really liked, and I guess I probably won't name the person, but the response was, "Oh, she's so posh."
Yeah,
And then you look at it. Well, I'm talking about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and then all of a sudden you look it up and go, "Oh, uh, like literally her parents are aristocracy to the point
yeah,
that, needless to say, very talented people. But yeah, if you don't have to work at a restaurant to have food and clothing and shelter, yeah,
yeah.
you can sit down and write a lot more things.
Absolutely. It's that freedom of time, isn't it? That is afforded to some people more than
Yeah,
others.
so
But
it really is excellent that the BFI at least some level is helping a very small number of people, but at least they are helping there be an art scene of sorts and an indie
sure.
film scene.
Yeah, definitely. The public funding in the UK is really good. I think the BFI puts 11 million into feature films each year now. It used to be more, but it's gone down to 11 million. And then Film Forward does about 14 million. And then the BBC Films does about 10 million. And that is always from public funds. So, I mean, something in America does, like, there should be something in America that has that. And I think when you're reliant on money from like corporations to fund the film, you're going to struggle with the film, aren't you? Because you're going to be very conscious of how it's going to market. You're going to be very risk averse, and it would be good if it was a public funded thing that people can use.
It would be, it would be. Does so after you finish that short that was BFI funded, does that BFI sort of stamp also help with like British festivals and things?
Yeah, it can do. I think the British festivals will always get a BFI submissions, so I think they tend to kind of just dismiss it and just look at it in its own, just take it by its own terms. Or also, I think there is maybe a case to be made that some of the films are very socially conscious films, and sometimes in the direction, in the actual like execution of that, maybe sometimes don't come off as the most enjoyable to watch, right? And I'm sure you've seen these at your festival where it's like someone has a very, they're very proud of like this thing that they must say in their film, that they're so wrapped up in like presenting it in like a sort of righteous way that maybe it's not as entertaining as it could be otherwise.
I may have said as a juror for our because actually our festivals are very uh idealistic. The film has to be wonderful. It just has to be wonderful filmmaking. And I've certainly watched something and sometimes my wife watches screeners with me and I'll just say to her, "Well, I agree with their politics, but this film is boring."
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that, and I think that when you are, this is what I was trying to get away from when I was writing stories back in the day, because I'm very, I've got political ideologies which I'm quite fond of, and I feel like very righteous, but I try not to put that into the films too blatantly because it will just turn people off. I think the best way to do it is subversively through imagery.
Yeah, and have that
Rather,
undercurrent and have yeah, exactly. Because if you hit people over the head with it, you're not gonna affect anyone anyway.
no, exactly. That's why I liked the new Knives Out. Actually, I really liked the Wake Up Dead Man. I thought that was a great example of using the writer's philosophy about religion and faith and just presenting it in a way which was really entertaining, but also had something really meaningful to say.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like Adam McKay pulls that off too most of the
Yes, he
time.
does.
Yeah, he definitely message films, but definitely entertaining.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. He puts comedy first.
Exactly. And then exactly. Well, there you go. Excellent role models.
Yeah.
So after the short that was BFI supported or funded, and do you want to name it? You haven't named it.
Yeah, I'll call it. Yeah, so it's called Harm,
It's
and
called Harm.
actually, yeah, so it's actually getting a re-edit, and it's going to go online to the world next year because it's only been on a festival circuit for about 3 years, and uh, the director's re-editing it, thinks it can be improved now that we have no time limit because there was a 15-minute time limit on it previously. So we're going to re-edit it. It's going to be about 17 minutes, and it'll be online on Vimeo, and it's worth watching. I think it's a really interesting story. I think it's really well done considering we actually shot it in the depths of COVID lockdown. Um,
Gotcha.
so there was a lot of restrictions.
For sure, for sure. Excellent. And I see I've got IMDb open, so I see that the director of Harm is an associate producer on the correction unit.
Yeah, Georgia Levers. Yeah, she's a great writer. She's associate producer and basically works on everything that I do now.
Right. So
Um,
part of your team of you got this collaborative, creative group of friends, I suppose, and associates.
yeah, that's it. We did. So we shot the correction unit as a team, and we also did two short films together in the last 2 years. So that was Aren't We Having a Good Time and We're All Black Down Here, which so the crew jumped from basically shoot to shoot, and it was all under the company Four River Films, which is my company. And I want to work with those guys on as many things as I can, and I think the team works well together now.
Excellent. So does that get us to the correction unit? And you want to share how that idea came together?
Yeah, so the Correction Unit is a sci-fi thriller. It's a feature film about a group of young offenders who get put into an institute that's run by an AI, and this AI uses invasive technology to alter their criminal behaviors. And it came about when I worked in a school for uh, college students, and then I also worked in a school which was for students that had been excluded from mainstream schooling. So they, for behavior issues or for like whatever reason, they just couldn't be in mainstream schools. And they had this like they were really funny, really like hard, tough people, and they tell you to fuck off all the time. But they were funny people. Like they had the quickest comebacks you could ever imagine. So when you were telling them to do something and they had this quick comeback, sometimes there's nothing you could do. And but a lot of them they're exposed to like violence, whether it's directly through their friends or family or just where they live or like this like they have to confront it on a regular basis. So I wanted to write a story about these kids and what would happen to these kids when we just pursue technology and what happens to the people at the bottom of the pile, to the most vulnerable people in society. What happens to them when we keep pushing technology and keep spending billions on AI? Right? We're not taking care of the people that really need our help. So sci-fi is a great way to explore ideas, isn't it? I put it into a sci-fi story and then presented it that way. And yeah, it's a fun 90-minute thriller, like that I hope people are really interested in, but also just enjoy the characters and the action.
Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, sci-fi might be the best genre for social commentary, right? I mean, you implied it there. It really is like you can always communicate things subtly that if you make it about our world, people react badly because they'll feel
Yeah,
preached to. But if you make it about a slightly futuristic, different technology, yeah, you set it there, and all of a sudden you get your audience to pay attention and enjoy the ride while while making a point about behavior modification and what we do to people. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. And you can get people to believe in something which is far fetched if the tone is sci-fi, right? And when you present an image that's like a visual which is quite out there and far fetched, it's so easy to like get rid of exposition and just go just commit to an idea and commit to like something that's visually cool. And yeah, sci-fi is the best way to do that. I never expected I'd be a sci-fi filmmaker though. That wasn't the plan.
Right. So that
Um,
wasn't like your main genre as a viewer.
no, no, it wasn't. And when we do the three favorite films, you'll see that they're very different to the correction unit. But this story just required it to be that genre.
Right,
And
because you were inspired by those young people you encountered, and
yeah,
you this was the best way to tell the story.
yeah, that's it. And low budget films are often more marketable if they are genre as well, right? So no one wants to see an art house film made by Derry Shillitto on 100 grand in the UK. Do you know what I mean? So uh, they might want to watch a sci-fi, and that has a lot of action and excitement. So yeah, you sort of disguise your story within genre.
And it also sounds like you have whether it was previous to this project or not, you've you've got a producer's mind as well.
Yeah, and I think you have to until you get to a point where you're working with producers who are well established and can take care of you. You have to have an idea of how your film's going to be marketed. How can you make the film that you really want to make, but make sure that people actually see it? Make sure that it has a home because there's nothing worse than spending 3 years on a project that is just going to be put onto a hard drive and maybe not seen by more than 250 people that were at the premiere screening at the local cinema. Like that is great, it's lovely, but don't you want to have random strangers seeing the film in Taiwan and then hearing what they think? Like we had a cinema release in Taiwan, which was amazing. Like that happened last week, and I'm just getting feedback from Taiwanese people about what they thought about the film, and that's really exciting.
That's fantastic. And yeah, it is it breaks my heart that we as yet don't have a way to get the millions of people on this planet who probably would enjoy a purely independent, really original, different kind of film, but
Yeah,
we've got no way to make them aware of it. So when you're making a film and your writer director is someone who isn't people haven't heard of, and the actors are probably people we haven't heard of, and you just turn to the world and say, "Hey, watch this."
yeah,
You need that compelling reason why in the end, and you came up with you've already mentioned, that sci-fi is a way in because people go, "Oh, I like sci-fi."
yeah. And I'm one of those people as well. I'm one of those people that will seek out the artsy independent film made like in Nebraska for 10 grand, $10,000 or whatever. I will watch those things, but I know, like you say, it is hard to find people like me.
It is.
Uh,
Obviously, that's look, I run film festivals, and every, poor people, everyone just has to hear me say, I like the films that we are showing at our festivals better than the stuff that Hollywood puts out. And I
yeah,
don't know why we just can't get everyone to pay attention to these better films that are more personal, more original, more creative. There was no, you functioned as your own producer and you made sure that the correction unit had some elements that would help it a bit commercially, but you didn't have you know you didn't have a corporate structure telling you, all right, here here here's all the changes you have to make. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know, and there has been some sort of reaction to the film, which is really positive. Some people loved it because they know structurally it's not stereotypical. It is different, and it's trying to do something different, but it does have exciting scenes. Some people have gone in thinking that it's going to be something like a really low budget Hollywood type film, and they haven't got that because it's not that. Like it's like it has been marketed probably in a way which makes it seem like it's more of a sort of indie Hollywood type of film, when actually it is an art house film wrapped up in genre. But um, people have had a very divisive reaction, and that is a good thing. I think I would much rather have a mixed bag than one or the other.
For sure, right? You'd if people see it and their response is, eh, no, but
Yeah,
if they either really don't like it or really do like it, those are the great Q&As and those are the great reactions. There's nothing I know it's funny as a festival runner when I look at the jurors' responses, and if there's a bunch of nines and a bunch of twos, I'm like, oh, this is interesting because it's out of 10, right? So it's like, okay, you if you can really piss someone off, you are doing something right.
yeah. I think so. I think so. And I think that gives you reassurance as well. If you get a bad review, just think that it's in the long run, it's a good thing. As long as you're also getting good reviews. I suppose if you're just getting solely bad ones, then it probably is a bad film.
Very, very well could be. But was it a long process? Did was it
It was. It took 3 years to make it in total. The I started writing it in 2020, and obviously with COVID and with the big advancements in AI during the time, there was a lot of adaptation that had to be made because there was no way we were going to keep up with the new information that was coming out. So I made a conscious decision to make it not to not keep up with the technology, but to instead make it about the philosophy of the future of AI, make it very philosophical in that sense. So the technology was sort of taken out of the script, and that took a while. And then the actually getting the funding to make the film, we had a really lovely executive producer who wanted to help us make the film, who I'd worked with for like 7 years in the build up. And he said he'd give a certain amount, but it wasn't quite enough to do the whole film. So we shot as much as we could with that money. And then we had to keep getting money from various different sources for like 2 years. So we'd shoot when we get the money and just sort of like take breaks in between, which is really funny because the kids, the main actors are 15, 16, 17 years old. So they're going from like one scene skinny, next scene pudgy with a beard, and then another scene where they're like 6'2", and the previous scene they're 5'10". Um, so there was all of that to deal with, but I don't think it's too noticeable. But yeah, it's been a long time coming, and we're very happy now that it is available in America and the UK, and it will gradually be going out to different regions around the world.
and was it help? So you shot a good chunk of it, and then had did it actually help in a way? Because I is another leading question because I've found that the people who make a film over time, they often come out better because they worked like 1 or 2 weekends a month and then took a little break and so that you get to edit and see things and
Yeah,
improve before instead of that thing where okay, we're gonna shoot 90 pages in 2 weeks and what we get and then it's just all you know what I mean.
yeah, 100%. I think it did really help. It made the film, I think, a lot more layered. There's a lot more detail in the film that does grow from watching it more than once. I think it does have rewatchable, it is a rewatchable film because it took us so long to make it. So we chuck in like, backstories which would come up in like as we're making a film, whether it's a prop, whether it's a piece of costume, we just layer it, get more detail to the characters, and a lot of feedback that we have had is that people enjoyed it more the second time round. And I think that has come because me and Luke, who edited it, have spent so much time. thinking about this stuff, we had to we got to a point where we had to crunch the film down to 90 minutes, and we had a certain amount of shoot days, but we had time to really think of how we can execute those shoot days the best way to make sure the film really hits the mark, and I think it does.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, which is, look, no one likes when it takes a really long time to get something made, but the silver lining is you make it better.
Yeah, I think so. I think the next one we would do a lot more preparation ahead of the shoot and try to keep it in a smaller time frame. I do think that is better for mental health, if anything. But the preparation that we would have in the lead up would be long, and it would be arduous, considered, and it would take as much time as it's needed. I think this film, we could have, looking back on reflection, I could have done more preparation. So having the long production process was really helpful. But yeah,
Right.
like the first feature, you live and you learn, don't you?
You learn all the time, obviously.
Yeah,
In fact, that's probably when filmmakers become boring when they're no longer learning and they're just retreading their ideas.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, some never hit that point, but some definitely hit that point where you're like, okay, I think I'm gonna walk away from you now because I've seen this already.
Yeah, I think that's it. And it's hard not to fall into that trap when it's comfortable. But I think the next thing I'm looking at is doing something which will be a different genre. And I think if you move from genre to genre, you change your tactics and approach. And I think that could be really useful. I also think I probably won't write the next film, and that's something I've learned in this. That I will probably get someone else to write the film, and I'd direct it, and maybe develop the script a little bit with them. But yeah, I think I'm more of a director rather than a writer director.
Interesting, interesting. And you haven't locked in on an idea for the next one.
I do have an idea, and I'm developing it. I do also have a plan to make Correction Unit into a mini series because I think there is definitely a story that can be expanded. I think there is an element of interest that I'm going to go to the Berlin Film Festival in February, try and get a sales agent with a package, and just see how it goes. Like, I don't know whether one of the big commissioners would take it on board, but something on an international scale, like somewhere like maybe Taiwan, somewhere where maybe the budgets aren't as big, but they could still be interested in making a series out of this. Hopefully, we can see how that goes. But yeah, stay tuned for that, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because you obviously did some world building here, and it sounds like you're not you're aware of what else can be done in this world that you've built.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's very exciting. There's so much that could be expanded on that we couldn't do with the budget, but it's definitely there. And I think if anyone really understood what the potential could be, they would get on board with it. I just got to put that into writing, put that into a visualization, and just make sure that people get an understanding of where this idea could go. Because the idea of a bunch of the justice system using AI to correct young people, like that's like a Clockwork Orange meets the Black Mirror generation. Like that kind of sells itself. It just needs to have the right eyes on it, I think.
Yeah, and fingers crossed, hopefully people discover it on Prime, on Amazon Prime, and start watching it and recommending it, and the algorithm notices and kicks it up. I'm aware of some indie films that have come through our festivals that ended up really getting great viewership on there. And then if you get that great viewership, you can certainly use that to pitch the miniseries. Like, look, we've already got a fan base built in now, so let's give them more.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think we haven't got a marketing budget, so any people that watch it is just by happenstance. We're trying our best to get the word out there. And I think the more than anything, it's worth watching for the young actors' performances because they are really good. Considering some of them have never acted before, and they're working alongside Bella Ramsey, it is worth watching just for that at least. And then you might enjoy the story as well.
Absolutely. And Bella Ramsey, uh, I admit, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. She's quite. It was quite amazing to watch her go from that young character, that child on Game of Thrones, who was really one of the most such strength as a child on that
Yeah,
show, and then to see her on The Last of Us. Yeah, just so that's excellent. You got her to. She does the voice.
yeah, she's the voice of the AI, the antagonist throughout the film, and Bella's in it pretty much. She has a big role in the film, and
Yeah.
Bella wanted to do it just to support the other actors. They are a legend. Like I think Bella is just a very lovely person, and I think they're going to go on to even bigger things next year because they have 4 films coming out next year. Uh,
Well, good for her that she did it, and good for you that you got to work with her.
yeah, it was great, and hopefully I'll work with Bella again. We did a music video as well, actually, for like a local band called Girl Band, and that was brilliant. Like, so we spent about a week or two together, and yeah, really good, really great actor. And I think it's just the beginning, really, of their career. I mean, they're only 22, so it's this is things are only going to get bigger and better from here for Bella.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Well, when I assume you don't have the link yet for Prime, but
Not
the
yet.
included with, oh, you do have it.
So we have it on TVOD,
Yeah.
but then so then it says on, so when you go on the TVOD now it says coming to Prime in 5 days. So you can rent it now, but if you wait 5 days and you have the Prime subscription, you can watch it for free. So that's the situation it's currently in. It's
Excellent.
also
People can search for it that way, and we can put a link in the show notes of the podcast that'll take people right to it so that they can
amazing.
watch it.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'd love to hear any feedback that you get as well, because we want to hear what Americans think to the film. Uh,
Yeah, I suppose.
the, the
There's a few of us.
the accent the accent issues might cause a few problems. The Nottingham accent can be quite strong, and a few people have asked for subtitles already, so we need to figure out what we're going to do about that.
Well, they can always turn on closed caption, right? So,
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. I think they're all it's all there, so yeah, it can be done.
so I think I don't know. In general, my experience as an American is the first couple minutes you struggle, and then you just lock in, and then
Sure.
you actually stop. Then like you end up being able to understand it. I think.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's good. I mean, we got one feedback from the distributor early on. They said, "Can we have the scene in Arabic? Can we have subtitles for that scene?" And I was like, "What scene in Arabic are you talking about? Because there isn't one in the film." Like, it's like, I don't know what they were talking about, but it was just a scene where a guy was talking in a very strong Nottingham accent, and it just didn't read. They thought it was Arabic, but you know, it's only a brief scene anyway. So
That's pretty funny.
yeah, it's crazy.
For that market, you should have thrown in. Yeah, sure, we'll throw some Arabic below him. That just
Yeah,
you're reminding me of that Brad Pitt character from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
yeah, yeah. From Snatch, yeah, the
Oh,
Irish.
Snatch.
He's
That's
playing.
right. He wasn't in
Yeah,
the earlier one. That's right. It was Snatch. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He plays an Irish guy, doesn't he?
They could have put Arabic below him when he was speaking.
Yeah, yeah. His accent, as someone who is Irish, his accent is pretty bad in that film. But I mean, it's meant to be funny, isn't it? It's not meant to be accurate.
It is. In essence. I think it's intended right to make fun of Americans trying to do that kind of accent.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think he was just having a good time with it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I don't think he was trying to be accurate, and it was good. It worked.
Yeah. All right. We will put links in the show notes for the film, And if people want to reach out to you, I assume we'll put a link to your social media as well, so that that's probably the easiest place for people to tell you, "Hey, I just watched it, and this is what I think."
That would be great. Yeah, I'll text you, I'll email you that. But yeah, it's at Foyle River Films on Instagram is our main account.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I will get us out of here by first. Thank you, Derry, for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's really good. And your festival looks great. I'll definitely come to it one time when I get to America.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we well, I'm about that. You just gave me a wonderful segue, but I'll go in my usual order, which is I already thanked you. Now I'll thank everyone who's listening. If you want to learn more about this podcast, where we talk to filmmakers who are on the festival circuit, go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. If you go to discoverindiefilm.org, that is the nonprofit. Because in the U.S. we don't support the arts, but we at least don't tax charities that help the arts. So if you go to discoverindiefilm.org, you can see both Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Film Invasion Los Angeles are on there, and they're both actually ranked in the top 100 best reviewed festivals worldwide out of 14,000. So they're pretty good. They're good festivals. I gotta admit, we just finished one 2 weeks ago that was fantastic. All great films. So that's it. DiscoverIndieFilm.com for the podcast, DiscoverIndieFilm.org for the festivals. And I'll close with, I believe this is coming out first week of January. Well, guess what? The second weekend, or I guess maybe the third weekend of January, I named Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Film Invasion Los Angeles. We are actually giving birth to a cousin in South America. Film Invasion Lima, Peru is going to happen January 16th and 17th. So if by some crazy coincidence you're listening to my voice and you live in Lima, go check out Film Invasion Lima. The films are excellent. And there's just a wonderful team down there in Lima who we worked it out for them to run a festival down there, and we're doing all we can to help them. All right.
Nice.
Derry, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you everyone for listening.